Inspiration is needed in geometry just as much as in poetry. I am Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin, the father of Russian literature, the poet who gave soul to the Russian language, and the man whose words ignited the imagination of a nation. My life was a whirlwind of passion, defiance, and creativity, marked by exile, duels, and the undying pursuit of poetic truth. I lived as I wrote, boldly, vividly, and without fear. This is my story. I was born on June 6, 1799, in Moscow, into an aristocratic family that carried both the weight of history and the fire of rebellion. My lineage was as colorful as my poetry would later become. On my father's side, we were descended from ancient Russian nobility, while my mother's heritage connected me to Abram Ganable, an African nobleman brought to Russia as a slave, but who rose to prominence under Peter the Great. This duality of privilege and struggle, of tradition and defiance, would shape my identity forever. My home was filled with French and Russian literature, and I devoured everything. Yet, it was the stories of my nanny, Irina Rodionovna, that left the deepest mark on me. She spoke in the rhythms of old Russian folk tales, filling my mind with the music of the common people's language, words that would later flow through my poetry. Even as a child, I was restless, my mind wandering beyond the aristocratic walls that confined me. I spent hours immersed in books, translating passages from French and Latin, and composing my own verses in secret. My parents, though proud of my lineage, showed little affection, leaving me to seek solace in the tales of history, the echoes of battles long past, and the cadence of poetry that ran like blood through my veins. At the age of 12, I entered the newly established Tsarskoye Selo Lyceum, an elite school near St. Petersburg. It was here that my poetic voice began to bloom. The halls of the Lyceum buzzed with debate and intellect, and I found my place among young minds eager to shape the future of Russia. I was not a model student in discipline, but in poetry, I soared. My verses flowed effortlessly, and I soon gained recognition within literary circles. I absorbed the works of Byron, Voltaire, and Rousseau, and their ideals of liberty, justice, and personal expression resonated deeply within me. My talent was undeniable, and my reputation quickly spread beyond the school walls. By the time I graduated in 1817, I had already published my first works, including the now celebrated poem To My Friend Chadiev, where I embraced the ideals of liberty and reform, dangerous words in an empire that crushed dissent. Upon graduation, I was thrust into the world of imperial bureaucracy, but my heart was elsewhere. I became deeply involved with progressive intellectuals who yearned for freedom from autocratic rule. My poetry reflected my rebellious spirit, and soon, my words became a problem for the authorities. In 1820, my politically charged poem Ode to Liberty caught the eye of Tsar Alexander I, and not in a favorable way. I was banished from St. Petersburg and sent to the Caucasus, Crimea, and Moldavia, far from the center of power. But exile became my muse. The landscapes of the Caucasus, the wild beauty of the Black Sea, and the stirring heroism of folklore all seeped into my work, inspiring masterpieces like The Prisoner of the Caucasus and The Fountain of Bakhchisarai. I traveled extensively, immersing myself in different cultures and traditions. I learned from local poets, absorbed new storytelling styles, and refined my own voice. Exile, though meant as punishment, became my crucible. My letters were censored, my movements monitored, but my mind remained free. When Tsar Nicholas I took the throne in 1825, he allowed me to return, but under strict surveillance. I was brought to Moscow, where I was to submit my works for approval before publication. Still, even within these constraints, I soared. It was during this time that I embarked on my greatest literary undertaking, Eugene Onegin, a novel in verse. Through the character of Onegin, a cynical yet brilliant nobleman, I captured the spirit of my generation, weaving love, fate, and Russian society into a poetic masterpiece. This period also brought love into my life. I met Natalia Goncharova, a woman of stunning beauty and charm. I pursued her ardently, though her family hesitated due to my reputation as a troublemaker. After much perseverance, we married in 1831. Marriage brought me into the dangerous world of the royal court, where whispers and jealousy swirled around me. Natalia was admired by many, including the French officer Georges d'Andes, whose attentions became scandalous. Rumors spread, my pride was wounded, and honor demanded satisfaction. On January 27, 1837, I faced Diaz in a duel. The morning was bitterly cold, and my heart pounded as I took my position. The pistols fired. I was struck in the abdomen. The pain was excruciating, and I knew my fate was sealed. For 2 days, I lay in agony, my body failing, but my mind racing with unfinished verses, unspoken words. Friends and family gathered. My wife wept at my bedside, but I knew the end had come. On January 29, 1837, I succumbed to my wounds. I was only 37 years old. Though I left this world too soon, my words have never faded. My poetry, my stories, my vision for Russia live on. I was the bridge between the classical and the modern, the man who took the Russian language and made it sing. I was Alexander Pushkin, the soul of Russian literature. And as long as my verses are read, I shall never die. I have outlasted all who knew me in my glory, and now my youth is lost in times long past.